Hello, Bob. I see you're on early. Anybody got their ears on yet? Devin, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Interesting. Hello. All right. Can anybody hear me now? Hello. Anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me right now?
Christopher, I can hear you.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it, Bob. Sometimes you wonder, right?
Yeah, I usually do one-on-ones with students, so I'm not real proficient in group setting.
No, that's all right. We'll just kind of, I started a little bit early just to make sure the system was up properly and running. So if I had to put out a urgent message, I was able to, right?
There you go.
You guys are in the wrong spot. Got to go to a different spot. Stop. I appreciate you jumping on at late notice, Bob. I appreciate it very much. It's just a shame you don't have a camera, though. My goodness gracious.
There's one hanging on my monitor right in front of me. I've just now hooked it up.
Does that mean you're
push
shy?
myself to do little quick informational videos here in the coming weeks. So I'm getting there.
I actually went out and I didn't go out. I went to Amazon and found a little Logitech camera because the one on my computer was just fuzzy and horrible. And so I ordered it in, and that's what I'm using now. It's just a tiny little thing. The little sucker only cost me $20. I'm going, oh, okay. I can do that.
Huh? Yeah, this is a Logitech. It's one that I've heard mentioned many times, so I just went on a recommendation, but it's been hanging on this monitor for 6 months and never plugged the USB in yet, but I'll get there.
Did you get the C920?
Which model is it? I think it's a 920 or maybe it's a 930.
The 920 is one of the highest recommended ones there is, right, period. Even for podcasts or anything else.
Yeah, I'm looking for a model number on it. I can't find one, but I think it is from memory. I think it's a 920.
Yeah. Devin, are you on right now?
Yep, I am here.
Hello, buddy. How's it going today?
Doing pretty good. I'm gonna see if I get my video up and running.
Oh. Scott, welcome aboard.
Remind me where you're at, Christopher.
I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Absolutely, yeah.
Been out there a couple of times.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas, but reside in North Carolina now. But I've lived in every time zone, California, Chicago, all around over the years.
What sentenced you to a term in Fresno?
I actually moved out there to work in school fundraising. And that was
really?
An area that I was into. It's not as popular as it once was, but
that's interesting.
At that point in time, I had worked for another company and had been in the top 3 every year. And this company out in California called me up and asked if I wanted to take over their sales for their entire company. So I said, well, interesting. What's in it for me? So obviously there's enough so we moved to California, lived down in San Juan Capistrano for a while, and then up to Fresno. Moved up to Fresno because it was the cultural shock in Southern California was too much for us.
Yeah, I could just Texas, North Carolina, Fresno Triangle. That would be more sense than the San Juan Capistrano.
Oh yeah, yeah. We were looking around. We were actually, my wife and I were chatting one day, and I said, "You know what's missing around here?" She said, "Well, a lot, but what are you thinking?" I said, "There aren't any pickup trucks."
Good point.
So we went and found pickup trucks in California, and that was in the Central Valley.
That's yeah. I'm about well, as I mentioned, my brother lives in Fresno. I'm 135-ish miles from there.
Right, right. That's not bad. It is beautiful country, that's for sure. Uh, Lots to see, lots to do. Uh, but what did really freak me out, though, when we first moved to San Juan Capistrano, it was in late November, and as Christmas rolled up, on Christmas Eve, my son and I were out body surfing, and I said, "There's something wrong with this picture to be out body surfing on Christmas Eve." So, what can you do? See, Rick is here. Hi, Rick. How you doing, buddy? Everybody go.
I couldn't get to my mic fast enough. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Everything well with you?
Couldn't be better.
Yeah. Everybody, in fact, Scott, unmute. We just kind of have a conversation while everybody's coming in here. It's only 3 after, so we'll give them a little bit before we kick into any of the presentation or anything.
Yeah, sounds like a deal.
How
you been doing?
Good. Busy as the dickens, though.
Hey,
I'm sure all of you have been.
Busy is good, right?
Well, it is as long as it's making you money.
Sounds good to me.
You can be busy and broke, don't forget, too, right?
That's true.
That's a fact, Jack, right there. So I know that, of course, with everybody's been keeping up with Devin. He's been really working his tail off. You've been keeping up with a lot of things there, Devin.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to keep up with a lot of things.
I definitely see Devin poking his head out a lot in the group, which is good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to go live when I'm at the events too. Maybe you're like share a video or two from the events, because then you guys could actually see what's going on, what it looks like if you haven't been involved in the past, especially for a lot of new people here in the group. So
that'd be great. Love to see those shared videos.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I give Devin full credit. I began giving him some instruction on using the chamber to grow his agency. And this was over when we were in the Social Masters group. And I had an offer from them to, do a webinar, which hasn't come to pass yet. And Devin and I started chatting more and more. And before I knew it, he has a Facebook group set up. And he says, "Well, let's get started." And I said, on one condition, and that's if we also make it a daily diary of your progress. So actually, that's the reason he's so dedicated to it. It's because he wants daily, he wants to put up something every day just to talk about what he's done. If he's done something great. If he hasn't, then he tells you he hasn't done anything today. So it's kind of a daily diary type of Facebook group as well.
Nice. Very nice.
And Devin is definitely keeping up his end of the bargain. All right. Well, in the process, we might as well get cranking here, guys. We had an excellent group last week, and I see this may be the wrong day of the week for some of our folks, but that's all right, because we'll still have this to put onto the site for everybody to be able to see. And that is what it's all about. Hey, Stan. All right, let's see here. Let's share that. Boom. Go to that. Nope, not going to do that. Boom. All right, topic of the day today is this. We're going to talk about how to use chamber newsletters to give you an advantage and visibility, and also to meet the chambers, some of the most influential people in the chamber. And it's again, everything that I teach here are methods that I use to grow my agency from the very beginning. And this is one that I got into probably, I don't know, maybe a year and a half into my agency. And so all of this doesn't happen at once, but it's nice to have all the tools, in front of you anytime you get ready to use them. As some of you may recall, last week we talked about going to events and what to do at those events. And you may have seen on the site this week that we were asking people how many events they'd found in their area, and they put them on the calendar. Have they found their calendars? Devin did a really good job of showing people how to find the chambers in their area. It was an outstanding way to do it with maps, and that's on the. If you haven't seen it already and need to use it, that's on the group site right now. So I really appreciate you doing that, Devin. I wouldn't have thought of that for some reason. It just didn't occur to me to do something like that. There are a lot of chambers in and around you. I know Bob and I were talking earlier today, and he's got quite a few around him, which he's going to be addressing here shortly. He'll tell you about that himself when he comes on to talk. So let's talk about how we do this. You guys are going to have to pardon me. I can't shut off some of my systems, so you'll just have to bear with it, okay? All right, so let's get into this right now. We're going to talk about one of the newsletters that I've come across, and I went out and I just looked around various parts of the country. I didn't pick any specific area, but I looked around in various parts of the country. And this one, we can just start with this and take a look at it. It's a pretty common one, with the exception of there's a lot of these I'm going to show you have a lot of business ads. And I'm not really used to that in the chamber newsletters, but I guess that's it's widely used, because I sure saw a lot of it when I was searching through these. The chamber gets an award. That's nice. Okay, cool. As we move down, of course, you're going to get the stars here, all the chamber staff, the board members, definitely all the influencers there in the process. Leadership partners. This refers to, if anybody's never gone through this in a chamber, there's actually leadership programs, and it's where I went. It was an 8-month program that you actually learned everything there was to learn about the community. You would go and visit with the town council. The group itself would visit with the entire town council. We got a whole day with the superintendent of schools for the county. We did just unbelievable things that you never get an opportunity to do. And it was used basically to train the up-and-coming people to be leaders in the community, basically, is what it was for. I was fortunate because I was actually doing work with the chamber at that time, actually doing some recruiting, which we'll talk about as a way to grow your business too. And the chamber director decided to be nice to me and allowed me to take it at no charge. And it was an $800 course, so I was really appreciative of that. You never turn down money, right, guys? Or the benefits of what money can do. What I wanted to show here, though, I can't believe a chamber would put a crossword puzzle in the newsletter, but who knows, right? Now, let's get into some of the things that we talked about last week. Here is an early morning group gathering here, Coffee and Company, Heartland Bank. Then we've got a ribbon cutting here from Crispy Crunchy Chicken, and we got another ribbon cutting at Nutrition Revolution. And these are all events that you should put on your calendar and go to. It is it's a great way to meet people. And if you watched the videos last week or anything about it, I'm not going to go into detail on that right now because it's not the focus of this particular meeting. But as we get down through this, you can see here right now, committees at work. And this is where I want to focus a little bit. I'll go through a couple of more. And I think, Devin, you have some you want to show too, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. here's where I want to focus. There are always a number of committees in any chamber of commerce, and those committees will put on events. Normally, the committee is a short-term gig, but there are other committees like if you're putting on a Christmas parade, like some chambers do, then it's an all-year thing. Except you don't really do anything until the last 2 months. Is what really happens. So, ahead of those, each of those is a committee chairman, and that chairman is always, again, an influencer. They've worked their way up through the chamber to be able to take over one of these committees. And so they're important not only to the chamber, but they're important to you as well. So what I ended up doing, it's very, very simple. I saw that chamber newsletter didn't have one thing that causes people to want to look at a newsletter, a website, a landing page, or whatever it might be. What is that one thing, guys? What do you think the one thing that people use most on a site in order to make them stay? What is it called?
Visual interest.
Or a video, right? Okay, so that being said, what I did was I went and offered the chamber to go out to each of these, you see, Doing Business Award, Spotlight Business Award, Ag Appreciation. All right, the committee's working on Ag Appreciation. They're going to have some sort of event or get together. And what I did was I would take the major event for that month, and I would go and take a personal video of the committee chairman. Now that meant I went to their office. We sat and chatted a while. Sometimes they took notes and sometimes they didn't. I just had a little camera. I didn't use my big equipment for those types of things. I just used my small little camera that I had, a digital camera. And so I would go in and sit with them. They would go through their thing, make probably about a 3-minute video. We'd chat for a while longer, and off I went. Now, number one, I got to know that person. We didn't become friends necessarily, but we became acquaintances. And of course, chatted about what I do, and many times they knew, but I would emphasize it somewhat and not try to do it too much, overkill. But yet, we would talk about each other's businesses. The funny thing is, one time, just a funny story on the side, I went to a bank president that was a committee chairman for one of the groups, and it was a gal. And I walked in, and she says, "I don't know if I'm ready for this or not." I said, "All you have to do is just chat for a few minutes and tell us about what the committee's going to do and what the event's all about. That's all you got to do." She says, "Well, I've taken some notes here. Let me just give me 5 minutes. I'm going to take some more notes." Well, this little camera I had, fortunately, I had a recharger for it because I told her I'm not going to edit this. It's only a 3-minute video, so we're going from beginning to end. That's the way it's going to work. And she could not get it right from beginning to end for an hour. I had to plug my camera in to charge her until she finally got it right. That was the funniest session I'd had. Everybody else was pretty easy peasy, as they say. But again, the point is, you then take that video, you ask or you get the chamber to give you a place in the newsletter. In my particular case, they use Constant Contact for their newsletter. And they also gave me the credentials to get into Constant Contact. So I would go in and actually put the video on Constant Contact, type in some of the details of what that committee was going to do, who was on the video, and just a little time, some small facts about it. Sometimes the chamber would rewrite what I'd done, but not too often. And then that video was there. And they did get, I can't give you a real percentage because I didn't track it that well, but they did get an increase in readership. They got more opens than they had before. I do know they got more opens because I saw the numbers. I didn't track it like we track things now. Let's put it that way. But I accomplished two things. I served the chamber. I increased the value of their newsletter. And I had 30 minutes or more with an influencer that I didn't know before. And so it was a win-win-win for me. Now, what do you think I had at the end of that video? it was a tag with my company logo. Every video ended with my company logo on it. So every time that anyone watched it, I got some advertising for free every month. So that's a little bit about that. And of course, all these newsletters pretty much rack on down the same way. This one comes up. Some of them are better than others. I don't know. You're not going to find a chamber that doesn't have some sort of newsletter. That's for sure. This looks like a fairly small community here, probably. And in the process, it's hard to tell, but they do have some events. There's a business after hours right there, April the 18th. Of course, go to the events, guys. Go to the events. And let's see. I saw several, though, too, with educational programs. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about a real strong way in which to use education and setting up educational events so that you can not only get your business name out there, but actually, if you will, preach your business in the process in a work from the inside out. And that's what we stress here, is working from the inside of the chamber to the outside of the chamber. Devin, share some of your stuff with us.
Yes. I don't know if you got the screen, if you want to switch over to screen, or you can just open it up.
Let's see here. Let me get back on here. Boom. Stop share. Boom. Okay, you should be able to get on. You have a screen share at the bottom?
I have a share.
Yeah, hit the share.
And screen.
Just hit the share button. That's where it is.
I'll share the presentation. That'll work. Cool. There it goes. So just a little bit about this as it loads. There's two main events that I'm focusing on, both public and then also the chamber events, because the chamber will actually help promote the other events in the community. And I've got a little flyer here that was from the Sycamore Chamber of Commerce, and they help promote all these events. And
David, your screen's not up there.
Events.
You're full.
Weird. Okay. Oh, maybe yeah, maybe it's not working. Okay. That's a bummer.
It says you're viewing Devin's screen. What it says up top. There it goes.
Oh, there we go. It just took a little minute to load. Okay.
Right.
So we'll do this from the beginning. And so the main two focuses are basically public, non-members. So you can go to these events, and then also the chamber focused, which are just strictly going to be chamber events. So the two ones that I've gone to are the after hours and the Vista Expos. Now the after hours, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And the public focus, I'm thinking vendors and booths. So you're going to go to these events that are going to be public events, but there's a really good chance that a business owner is going to be there, and you'll be able to connect with those owners. And that's kind of the whole purpose of going to other events. So it's a little bit outside the chamber itself. So one of the ways is this is the Sycamore Chamber of Commerce, and the after hours, you'll see right on their website those events, and usually it's underneath the event section of their site. So that's one way to go. I was actually just at one yesterday. It was kind of busy, crazy, and actually got confused between some of the members at the retirement center, because people are typically a little bit older, on the older side, so they're getting confused a little bit. So I mean, it does take a little bit of experience to talk to people, and it's just getting out there and if you talk to 3-4 business owners, then that's good. I mean, you're getting your word out. So the Business Expo, about half and half. There's going to be business owners as well as people that represent the business. So if it's like a restaurant, typically they'll have somebody out there. So you'll have to kind of gauge at these events to see, hey, are you the business owner? I usually just end up running into them if there's like 4 or 5 people there. Usually I'm one running into the actual business owner and talk to that person the very first time. So just getting lucky. But just ask the business owner. If they're not a business owner, it's cool. Just talk with them and get to know some of the business in your local community. I mean, that's what it's all about. So here's one. I'm going to do a little play. So if you guys can actually open up your mics. I don't know if everybody's got mics open, but we're going to do a little role playing here. Exactly which event might be good. So, I mean, you could chime in too, Christopher. So this is Cinco de Mayo. As you can tell, even on this picture, is this something that'd be a good thing for going out to and meeting with business owners?
My opinion, not too open, too outdoorsy, too much going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. But obviously, if there's a business owner there, that you can at least see business in your area. So a lot of these are going to be the outdoors events, and pretty busy. So, but this is another one, Northern Illinois Arts Show, arts crafts outside. It's an outside event, and one of the ways you can do this is also taking pictures of the event and to help the other business out. So I'm actually going to show you. I don't know if I can switch over to the actual newsletter. There we go. Okay. Yep. Of one, and this is something that was tied off of what Christopher already mentioned. Was what's going on? I can't. Okay. Should we my inbox? Okay. So here's our newsletter. As Christopher already talked about, I haven't seen a video yet. I just got on this newsletter, but does this look like something that they could use maybe an upgrade or adjust a little bit? Now it says
We're not seeing your share screen. I think you may have to go back down to share and then pick the screen from
okay.
New share.
New share. Okay, thank you.
Right. I see it says you're reviewing, so you're back up. There you go.
Pretty good. Okay, so here's an event newsletter from my local Chamber of Commerce. The only one I've seen actually on email, and it's showing a lot of events that are happening. Has also what Christopher mentioned before is it's Gallup Leadership Academy. I think it's a little bit more than $800. I mean, I think it's even more than that, but it tells you even some even news that each chamber member is also having their own events that you can go out to and support. So that's just one of the newsletters that I have in my local community.
Do they have? I didn't see any actual committee events. Are there any listed there?
The actual committee events, I don't think there's any listed on here. I think there's some on the website though. If you go to the actual website, here's the actual website. I'm not seeing committee events, but let's see, events, chamber calendar. It should be the chamber calendar. So yeah, this is it for April. So nothing with community.
Okay. All right, but it's still wide open to start using video, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much wide open for the video section from what I've seen so far.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop my share and I'll switch it over to you, Chris.
Okay. For the rest of you, give me a little feeling. What do you think about putting videos on the chamber sites? You think you see value in that? Anybody just speak up? You're in shape. You're in a good group here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think adding video to anyone's website is certainly something that would be advantageous to the web owner. And as you've all mentioned, video is the single most engaging factor that's going to keep somebody on the website and interested in what, is going on. So yes, I 100% agree.
And with that particular value, it gives you standing with the chamber. I don't think any chamber would refuse your offer if you went in and said, "I'd like to help out the chamber." And with that, of course, it's your time, but my goodness, you're getting a warm lead at least once a month with a major player.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I did have a lot of referrals. So not just from, from a lot of those people as well. When somebody mentioned it, they were in a group. I got many calls that said, Barbara at the bank, whatever, said I should give you a shout about such and such. Mm-hmm. And it was usually somebody I'd done a video for or something like that. So it was very, very effective for referrals, mm-hmm. if not for working with the person that you actually videoed. Let's see. What is SE phone? What is SE phone down there? I can't.
I think that is one of the Droid phones, and it could be an Android/SE model.
Okay.
So it's not being identified other than the model of his phone.
Okay. Well, good enough. SE, it's good to see you, buddy. Speak up if you want to. All right. All right. Now, I know that some of you have some great things going on. I know that I see that Judith came on board down from Mexico, and with that, she's got some really cool things happening in her life right now. And I know most of the rest of you do as well. I see there's someone down there that's watching that's a good friend of mine from Pakistan, as a matter of fact, is down there with the MMM on it. Appreciate you coming on, Lisa. Appreciate it, buddy. If you want to say hi, jump on and say hi. Don't be shy, buddy. Okay. All right. That being said, now
come on, Musa.
Come on, Musa. Come on and say hi, buddy. That being said, there is we had a special guest speaker planned for today, April Bernard, and I got a shout from her about 3 hours ago, and she said, "I'm sorry I can't be there because I'm now in the hospital." She wasn't feeling well 2 or 3 days ago when I talked to her. And it ends up she went to the hospital because of pneumonia. So if you get a chance to give her a shout out, do so. In the meantime, Bob Mankin was kind enough to come on and share some of his experiences with the chamber. He is out in California. He's part of a smaller chamber, but he's now reaching out to chambers beyond him. But I know he's got some interesting stories to tell about his relationship with his own Chamber of Commerce. So, Bob, you want to take it away?
Sure, we'll give it a run here. First of all, thanks to Christopher and Devin for putting together this group. And there's tremendous value that can be gained here if you're looking to get into the chambers and become an influencer. And I don't follow this closely as I really wish I could. I have so many balls in the air, if you will, but just some of the content they've been putting out so far, I agree with much of what you guys are doing. And the comments you just made this morning dovetail very nicely with just some of the notes that I've scribbled here that I'll cover for you real quick. So just real quickly about myself. So I actually have 35 years of experience in the tech industry, so it kind of fits that I live in California. Digital marketing is something I've been leaning heavily into for the last 5 years. I have experience in e-commerce going back to my first website I built in 1997 before the term e-commerce even existed. So that's really all you need to know about me. Let's get into
wait, Bob, how old are you? Huh?
Older than you might. I'm 58.
Okay, well.
Bordering on 59.
Were you alive before Windows?
Oh my goodness. I you know what? If I I'm a pack rat, so if I dug around in an old junk box somewhere, I'd probably still find Windows 3.1 floppy disk somewhere if I really looked hard.
Yeah, I started out with the Commodore 64. Does anybody remember that?
Oh, goodness, you predate me then.
And 64 really meant 64, like 64 K or megabytes.
Hey, how about the Atari 800?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Let's go to the Atari. Sure. You could play games with that one. I couldn't do that.
That program definitely was my first computer.
I actually used I was doing some overseas work, and I actually found a way to make that. The Commodore 64 work as a text machine, or telex machine.
Uh-huh.
So I was able to telex back and forth to China, and with that unit sitting right in my kitchen, it was wonderful. Everybody was going, "How do you do that?"
Yeah, basic HTML code, definitely. Or actually, it was. I think it was called what the heck? It was even before the word HTML, just basic. That was it. Basic coding.
Basic coding. Bob, I'm sorry I interrupted you. We've got some
DOS?
people in the group. I know that Devin probably doesn't even know what a floppy disk is, but that's all right. Go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry I interrupted you, buddy.
Oh, no worries. That was interesting reminiscing. I didn't go deep into my background. So I'm a CAD designer, printed circuit board specifically. So there's actually a better than average chance that this video call is going across a piece of hardware that I actually had a part in designing, because my client base has been tier 1 networking company since I got into that business, actually. So, going back to Commodore's a little before my time. I wasn't a big computer guy back then. But I first got on the internet in the early 90s on a computer called a NEX. I don't know if anybody knows what a NEX computer is.
Mm-hmm.
NEX was what Steve Jobs did in between his 2 stints at Apple.
Oh, yeah.
So my boss, I've been self-employed most of my working life, but for the short time I was employed by another company, my boss used to work for Steve Jobs at Next. He was the CAD manager at Next. So anyway, that's enough of that. It kind of goes way back there, 30 years almost. So let's get into the chamber stuff, because the notes, Christopher mentioned this kind of spur of the moment. He and I talked an hour or so ago. I scribbled some notes, and amazingly enough, just to show that we're all on the same wavelength, much of what I put in here dovetails exactly with what Christopher and Devin have already covered, some of the things that they're doing and sharing within the group. I completely agree with those. Those are all sound ways to engage and potentially get your foot in the door. So let's talk about how I got involved with the chamber. So I've been involved with my local chamber, which, as Christopher mentioned, is fairly small. About 2 years ago, I approached them originally. At the time, I was doing mobile apps, and I thought mobile app would be a fit for them, give them an opportunity for a unique form of outreach. And for various reasons, that particular pitch didn't go over. They weren't receptive to it. But they did mention that they had a need at the time for some help on their website. So they had an old website. The person who built it for them had sort of abandoned them a little bit. So it was sort of right place, right time. I have some WordPress skills, so I offered to help update them on their website. Now, that's not going to be a fit for most people, because any established chamber is going to probably have a bunch of people competing for that little seat, if you will. So I'm just relaying my experience, but that's not typical. So I was fortunate, right place, right time, got my foot in the door. And so I managed the website, and I've since legged into managing some social media. So that's another opportunity for those of you, if you're looking for a foot in the door. There's all kinds of things and specialties in digital marketing that, in my experience, chambers are not very literate on. And that might give you an opportunity. You talked about video. That's perfect, because video is, I think we're still very much even though 70% of the web traffic is video, I think we're still very much in the early portion of the adoption curve of video in these newsletters, as you guys were talking about. So there's an opportunity again for you to get a foot in the door at your local chamber, whether you're doing a video interview or you're doing a video of a mixer or an after hours and then providing a summary afterwards. Again, that's content that you can be responsible for creating, and you can offer up that as just a complimentary service to your chamber. And they're going to appreciate that. I can tell you from experience. So definitely something worth pursuing if you're looking for that drill down or some way that you can, again, get that foot in the door. So again, right place, right time. I got the website opportunity. I've since expanded that to curating content on their social media pages. So I curate content on the Facebook and Twitter pages for our local chamber. Curated content. So it's not original. I basically just have to gather the content. I add a couple of sentences of my take on a particular article. And believe it or not, again, Christopher and I spoke an hour ago. 10 minutes before this meeting started, I was checking my email, I opened it up, and here's a comment from a chamber board member broadcast to a small group of us, complimenting me on the curated content that we've been streaming out for the last month.
Wow.
Completely unsolicited, completely surprised. It just landed in my inbox a short while ago that this board director was talking with another chamber member and getting positive feedback on that curated content. So it's if you're questioning whether that has value to the membership, I think that kind of answers your question.
Good job, Bob. Really.
Just fortuitous that again, right place, right time. So I don't want to drill too far down on that, but that again, that's just another possible in, if you will, for finding your place in the membership and bringing value to the membership as a whole that could potentially pay dividends for you and or your agency going forward. So again, a couple of ways that I've gotten in there. Christopher brought up an issue last week, and I'll just add my 2 cents because it's kind of affected me as well. And that is some of the politics that comes with chambers. And I have a pretty good relationship with the now former executive director at our chamber. She happens to be my neighbor. She lives around the street from me. And like most chambers, the leadership rotates annually. So there was a change of leadership, and there were some personality conflicts, and that kind of turned into a big political mess. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you stay out of those to the full extent possible. So, I was getting phone calls and emails from sort of both sides of the conflict, if you will, and I made it clear to all parties that I'm going to be Switzerland in this situation because there's no winners if you pick a side. Trust me, it's going to not be a good thing. So be mindful that in my experience, most chambers have some politics embedded in them. Not all of it's bad. But some of it can get a little caustic, so you want to be mindful of that and kind of watch out for the landmines. And there's a little bit of cliquish nature to some of them as well, in my experience. So just be aware of those sort of things. They're all, you can navigate that sort of situation. Just be careful. Don't get yourself in a hole or stuck in a pigeonholed in a category that, alienates half the crowd, if you will. You guys were talking about newsletters, showing examples of newsletters and how you're going to potentially leverage into become a part of those newsletters. Absolutely take advantage of that if you have that opportunity. Because again, my involvement with the website rebuild and the ongoing social media stuff, I also, as a part of my clientele, I have a lead magnet newsletter. I don't know if anybody's heard of Clicks Magazine. It's just a piece of PLR content out there. It's very good content for the cost, which I subscribe to. So I just brand it with my name and I broadcast it to my clients. It's just digital marketing specific content for small business owners. Well, I broadcast that to my chamber, and then they turned around and included it in their email blast. So that wasn't my video contribution that you were speaking about earlier, but it was a different type of content that became incorporated in the newsletter, and I get all kinds of great feedback as a result of that. So again, just another way you can kind of leg into and become part of the information flow to the overall membership. So between the website stuff, the curated content and stuff, if I put a retail value on this stuff, I'm contributing several $1,000s worth of effort, sweat equity, pure sweat equity here. And as a result, now I'm considered a corporate sponsor. So if you look at the newsletters that were shared earlier, somewhere typically down towards the bottom, you're going to see a list of sponsors of the chamber. In my situation, I'm actually included in a small select group of sponsorship just because of what I'm contributing to the chamber. And again, sweat equity as opposed to putting money into the making that effort pay off for you. Just be careful of that. So utilizing those mixers and expos that Devin mentioned, absolutely. If you look at those newsletters, what do you see? You see recaps, you see pictures, you see summaries of those events, the mixers and the expos. You want to the fullest extent possible, be participating in those. Don't show up once every 6 months or, you know, some weird infrequency. Try and make every one of those that you possibly can find the time for. Why? Because you want to be in that shot. You want to be in that picture that's going to be in the newsletter. Because then below that picture is going to be a summary of who was involved. You want your name to be in that summary. Because if your name is consistently mentioned as being a participant, you're engaged with what's going on with the chamber, your name becomes then top of mind in a subsequent conversation. Okay? So take advantage of it, because that's just a little bit of effort on your part that, again, can pay dividends down the road. This is sort of a cumulative effect going on here. So we talked about those leg in the doors. You guys have drilled down well on the video aspect. I talked about curated content aspect and website builds. Those are going to be sort of rarities. But if neither one of those applies to you and you're looking for that foot in the door, just drill down. In my experience, and this applies to the 4 sort of local chambers that I'm exposed to or attended events, none of them are particularly literate about digital marketing in 2019.
Yeah.
Most of it's old school. Print advertising, email newsletters are kind of getting long in the tooth. A lot of the marketing approaches that they use are not taking advantage of the most modern of technologies or opportunities. So if you are skilled in any of those, Christopher and I talked a little bit about chatbots, and we're not going to drill down deep on that, but I know there's other members on this call that are familiar with them and working with them. Messenger marketing is an opportunity. And I am personally rolling out a messenger marketing based product service later on this month, actually technically later on today, but later on this month we have a chamber mixer that is sort of a combination of mixer and expo. So we're going to be in a public place. Members are allowed a table, which gives you the opportunity to hand out literature on your product or services, et cetera. And this will kind of be my public launch for this particular messenger marketing-based product that we're doing. So that's sort of a drill down or specialty example to put in the category with the video marketing that was mentioned earlier, managing social media, whatever. Just find a specialty that you do, because chances are if you stop and think about your skill set and look at those newsletters or attend some of these mixers, you're going to find something that you do, that you specialize in, that you have expertise in, that you can offer to your chamber as a value add. And again, you're not going in there trying to sell this service. You're just going in there to add value to the membership, to start a conversation, because mixers and these events, they're not meant to be pitch fests. It's not meant to be a group of people going in trying to sell to one another. I see it all the time, but that's not, in my opinion, what it's meant to be about. It's just meant to be having a conversation, because the need for your services comes later. Okay? You got to go into those assuming nobody knows you, likes you, or trusts you. I'm sure you've all heard that saying. So just start the conversation, right? Just casual conversation about whatever. Eventually that leads to, hey, what do you do? What do you specialize in? You know, and the conversation has a natural flow. Don't force it, right? Just go in there and just sort of mingle. They're mixers. They're called mixers for a reason, right? They're not called pitch fests. They're called mixers. So just sort of go with the flow there. So those specialties, the drill downs, again, or the opportunities that Devin and Christopher were speaking about earlier. Go to these events, participate, but don't be a pitch fest. You know, bring value to the table to the extent you can, but don't make it a hard sell. One of the things I see in social media is businesses, and you might see this in your local area. I'm guessing you do. Businesses and social media really have no clue. If they're self-managing their social media, more times than not, you're going to go to their webpage and they're just doing pitching. They're selling their service. People don't go on social media, Facebook or Twitter, to be sold something. They're on there to watch the latest cat video or find a recipe or see, you know, John's daughter's wedding pictures or whatever, right? That's what social media is about. It's not meant to be a pitch fest for a bunch of businesses. So don't approach it with that. You want to, again, just use it to start a conversation. You're still at some point going to have a conversation about what you do and potentially have a pitch involved, but that's not the focus. And that's definitely not the first step. So don't fall into that trap in social media, which I see so many businesses doing. So we're kind of getting off the chamber thing. So let's get back on task here. So the mixers and the events that Devin's talking about, signing up for, to the extent you can, absolutely. Draw a 30-mile radius or 10-mile radius or whatever distance you're comfortable in participating. Sign up for those newsletters. Get to those events. Start meeting people. Start mingling. Get those conversations started. And add value to the full extent that you can. At most of the mixers that I'm aware of, and I think this is pretty consistent with chambers nationwide, there's an opportunity for a door prize. You can offer up a door prize at one of these events. They do drawings and they give them out and so on and so forth. A door prize is an opportunity for you for brand awareness. That's the way you need to look at it. At mine, you know, people donate bottles of wines or gift baskets and stuff like that. And for some businesses, that's really all they can do because of the product or service they offer. I don't do that. What I do is I offer a sweat equity product based on the services that I offer in my day-to-day routine. Yep. So digital marketing services, I can do a 30, 45-second video commercial for you. And I have tool sets that I can knock these out very quickly. So as a door prize, I'll say, hey, here's a free 45-second commercial for your business as my door prize. It's sweat equity. I'm not spending money here. I'm just serving up a gift card. Business owner gets that. They're like, wow, I get a free commercial out of this for the drawing. They're thrilled. It's not a big deal for me to fulfill that eventually when they redeem it. But here's the dirty little secret. In a year and a half of doing these door prizes pretty much every month, sometimes more than once a month, depending on how many chambers events I'm attending, I've not had one redemption. So while they are thrilled to get the prize, and when I see these people at subsequent meetings, oh yeah, I won that thing and I need to reach out to you, blah, blah, blah. They don't reach out. So you're getting brand awareness, you're getting exposure, you're getting appreciation, and you're not having to worry about the fulfillment to a large extent. And when somebody does come around and want that video, no big deal. I'll knock that out for them fairly quickly. I'm going to go the extra mile to make sure they're thoroughly thrilled with the results. I'm going to even promote it for them to the extent that's possible and reasonable. And then in those situations, what I'm going to do when I'm sure they're completely happy, I'm going to turn around and ask them, are you completely happy, Mr. Business Owner? Would you mind taking 5 minutes and giving me a positive Google review for that? So now I'm just turning it around. There's a benefit to me on the back end if they take advantage of a door prize that in most cases is not even redeemed. So low effort, high value return potentially for you. Just a way that you can kind of approach that. But back to the point of that is utilize those door prize opportunities, because with that, the way our chamber works is this. You put in a door prize for a particular mixer or expo event, you're now allowed a 30 to 60 second elevator pitch. There's your opportunity. There's your designed in pitch opportunity. You're not looking like you're pushy, because that's part of the drill. It's part of the door prize opportunity. You put in, you get the opportunity to pitch, and people are going to not feel like you're being pushy in that situation. And then if you're taking advantage of those opportunities, and this is something that I'm working hard on myself, get your elevator pitch down. Get your 30-second, 45-second, whatever they allow you. Get it nailed down pat so that it's committed to memory. And whether you're doing it in a mixer or you just meet somebody on the street and have a conversation and eventually it leads to, hey, what do you do? Boom. You've got your 30-second pitch nailed. And I learned this actually from BNI, which is kind of an extension of the chamber concept. I was invited to a local BNI group a few months back, went to a few of the meetings, and the guy sitting right next to me was a financial services guy. He had his 30-second elevator pitch nailed. I was so impressed. I'm like, whoa, why haven't I not mastered this before? So it's a concept that comes from BNI, but it works very well in chambers. It works very well just in engagement, period, in your day-to-day activities promoting your product or service. So get those pitches down. That's something I'm working on. I'm kind of rambling here, and I got one last thing I'll cover, and I'll hand it back over here. Those are some of the things that I've done in the past, doing currently, and then ongoing ideas. And this will kind of get into, I think, where Christopher and Devin are intended to take this. You have the opportunity to host your own mixer. You know, depending on the size of your chamber, there's probably some competition for, 12 slots on an annual basis of who hosts a chamber, right? Chamber mixer, which is your monthly get-togethers. So if you get the opportunity, you might want to consider doing that, because then you're sort of the featured guest, if you will, much like this opportunity right here. And I appreciate Christopher for giving me this opportunity. But take advantage of those if you do get them. You can do things like lunch and learns. I'm sure that'll probably come up in the discussion further down the road here in the modules, if you will. But for whether it's if you do the lunch and learns, again, you want to drill down that specialized. Find something that you have a skill set in that the chamber is not currently doing, and then do your lunch and learn centered around that, because that's going to bring value that they're not getting anywhere else. You become a focal point. Sponsor whenever it's possible for brand awareness. This is kind of an extension of that door prize at the mixer thing that we just talked about. I'm considered a corporate sponsor within my local chamber just because of the sweat equity I provide them. Anytime you get an opportunity like that where there's not a big financial outlay, it's just effort on your part, absolutely take advantage of it, because that can pay big dividends in the brand awareness.
Bob, one thing that I've found in my experience was when I was actually giving value to the chamber, it wasn't long before I wasn't even paying for the membership, and still had my logo on the newsletter and so forth. So I would encourage everyone to, for their sweat equity, as you call it, or their being a value, whether it be in the videos we were talking about, or if you got into their social media, that type of thing, then just do a little barter. Just tell them I'm happy to do it. And but first of all, I'd like to go ahead and just have a free membership. And they've got a leadership group, you might even want to opt in for that if you're doing enough for them. So there's a lot of ways to barter with the Chamber of Commerce as well.
1000% agree, Christopher, because I've never cut a membership check, period.
Ever, right?
Ever.
Exactly. So
now that goes to the timing, because I approached them again and it worked that way. But even if you're joining a chamber today, I don't know what it is in your area. It can be, in my experience, $100 to $200, let's say the range nationally. So you cut that check the first year. Then you get in there, you get your foot in the door, you drill down in your specialty, you start delivering value. In that first 12 months, you easily carve out a niche, and then you're free going forward, right?
Well, Bob, in our area, you're going to average about $450 to $650 for chamber membership.
Holy smokes. You think California was crazy, insane
Yeah.
expensive. Although,
yeah.
Keep in mind, I live an hour east of San Francisco, but the difference between the Bay Area proper and San Francisco and just going over a couple sets of hills to where I live is like night and day. It's like the 21st century versus the 19th or something. It's a kind of an oddity, but it is what it is. But to your point, Christopher, yeah, absolutely. Barter to the full extent possible. And that's not just for the chamber membership. As you build these relationships and you come up on the opportunities, you might need a landscaping services, and you offer something that barter
Sure.
opportunities are a whole nother class and discussion by themselves, but absolutely take advantage of those.
Well, sure. Even since many of the people here had been on Soci Masters and things like that, I love working with restaurants because not oftentimes, but many times if I find a place I like, I'll barter for free meals for the service. And
There you go.
I even go further than that. I've got a local one I'm working with now. I love the food. It's just fantastic. So it's one free meal a week. If I bring a client in, then I get one free meal paid for out of the two. And then as I was talking to the owner, I pointed over to the corner, and there was a kind of a corner round type table. And I said, and the third thing is, I'd like to be able to use that table at any time as my local office when I'm in this area. And he said, so let's do it. So
There you go.
I've got an office, I've got free food, I've got a place to take clients. It's just the restaurant bartering is fun too. Anyway.
Yes. You're really kind of limited by your imagination and your creativity in terms of the things you can do there. And I'll just mention this in passing, Christopher. We kind of touched on this earlier. You're talking about these programs, that I told you a little bit about the one that I'm rolling out here, and you mentioned some things you have coming. And you casually mentioned revenue shares.
Yeah, let me say we're going to kind of stay away from that right now. So be careful.
Oh
here.
yeah.
Right. Let me say this about that. Okay, there are ways that you can help the chamber, and it is through besides your own work and your own efforts. There are ways that you can actually make them money, not just save them money, and that is through what Bob just started to allude to. Non-revenue or non-dues revenue, and there are a couple of folks in the group. In fact, Scott's got a program that he's going to introduce here in a few weeks. Bob, I definitely want you to, and I know I've got a couple of more actually in the group, but we're going to save that probably until we've got a couple of more lessons under our folks' belt, because a lot of these folks are newer, not quite as experienced, and I want them to feel comfortable going out even and into the marketplace and seeing people. For the most part, most of the folks here have gone out, and you're used to it. You can walk up to somebody easily and talk to them. There's another person in the group, Peter, that is going to actually make a presentation on exactly what you were talking about, Bob, your USP. He learned it from a quote, quote, master, which he may even bring on with him in a upcoming program to talk about how to approach people in group settings and in network sessions. And it's remarkable what you can do with just a few words spoken correctly at the right time, and what success you can bring from that. And it's a technique. It's simply just a technique. A lot of people stumble around and they try to tell everybody how it works and all that stuff, as opposed to just going through it in a casual, being very not specific, but there's a way to do it. I don't go into details now, but I'm looking forward to Peter as well. But as far as our non-dues revenue programs, I expect we're probably going to start bringing those up probably the middle of next month, or maybe sooner. We may put one here and there, because what I started the site out with was, we don't want, hey, Bob, you mentioned Pitch Fest. We don't want it to be a pitch fest, but I want it to be things of value that relate directly to the Chamber of Commerce. And if someone can get into an area that will benefit themselves and the Chamber, and it's related to the Chamber, then we'll probably bring it. We'll bring it in for other people to evaluate for themselves. So Scott, Bob, and the other folks aren't on here right now. Just hang on, because I want to hear a complete session, a complete Wednesday session, all about what you got going on. All right, Scott. Scott, are you still on? Or you're hiding back there?
He's muted down there.
All right, I see him muted, but I just didn't know if he heard me or not. All right.
I look forward to that, Chris. Right now, and you're just going to leave that one live for now. So, and the last thing I'm just going to mention is participate and engage. And this goes to something that Devin was just doing. He jumped on and he started looking for signups, all the newsletter signups and mixer signups and event signups. Participate in those to the fullest extent possible. Carve out an hour where you can just sit down and do Google search for everything within reasonable range of where you're at, that you are comfortable that you can not only sign up for, but actually go and participate. Again, get those mentions, whether you show up in a photo or you get mentioned in the footnotes or whatever. Do that. Just participate, because eventually that your name awareness and your brand awareness is going to start getting traction and paying dividends. And then one last thing that sort of was an offshoot of that, and it kind of goes back and it goes to Devin's efforts on that. I'm fortunate in that in my local area, there's a fella who sometime probably years ago took up the task of aggregating all the chambers in our area. So what he does a monthly email blast at the beginning of the month that summarizes all the chambers in the county I live in, their events, or just in a nice little e-blast summary. It's a little bit, not to nitpick, it's a little dated in the look. He doesn't have the polished look of like the newsletters that the fellows were sharing earlier, but he at least gets the information out there, right? So I got the beauty of one-stop shop. I don't have to spend a lot of time sitting down and searching for all those events. I can just pull up his email, find the ones I'm interested in, and I can go directly to those and sign up for them. So here's a thought, and this just hit me out of the blue. It's like, okay, that's a service that guy is doing for our local area. Do you have a service like that in your area? If you don't, did I just give you an idea for a foot in the door? Does that give you the opportunity?
I think it's a great idea, as a matter of fact, because you're going to have your name on it.
Exactly.
And you're going to be having your name on it in front of maybe a dozen to 24 chambers of commerce in that given area.
And you're going to be engaging with the influencers in those individual chambers, right? Because it's all about that networking. I talked about my brief history, and it's only been a couple of years. So the things I have currently going on my plate right now, I have a website for a local service organization, a big name that came directly from the chamber engagement. So I engaged with chamber board members that recommended I redo the website for this service org. I have a pending proposal for the current president. I have pending proposal for 2 past presidents. I have a pending proposal for the current VP. This is all work that I did not go out and solicit. It's just that I went in, I got that foot in the door, I did some things, I provided some value. Some people found a need in their daily activities. And because I was there, I was participating, I was going to the mixtures, my name was at the top of mind when they had a need for that service. So put yourself in that position. And again, that last idea of that becoming that aggregator, go out and see if you have anything like that in your area. If you can't find another value add that you can drill down on and become engaged, maybe that's one. Maybe
Bob,
if you're,
Bob, let me ask you a favor, would you?
I'm sorry.
Why don't you put that up, post that up on the Facebook group? That idea.
I will. I'll share with you the link to the sign up, because it's, anybody can go and sign up for it. It's not, specific to a region, but you can sign up for it. You could get his email, and then you could just see the structure, and you might even be able to improve upon that. I think if I was doing it, I would try, but and here's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be taking all of the work that Devin's already done, went out and signed up for all those newsletters, and then you're just going to be aggregating that one big newsletter for your sign-up list, your email list. It's as simple as that.
I think it's a good idea, and I really encourage you to share and explain the concept and share the link in the group, because that's an excellent idea. I think I'll add that to my training. Actually,
well, it's going to get you those engagements again. Because you're going to have to interface with influential folks in each of these individual chambers. So those are going to just open up new potential doors of opportunity for you. So let me craft something, get it posted in the group, and then I hope that some of you will read it and run with it.
Cool.
There's no benefit to me because it's already being done, and I'm not trying to take somebody's.
Yeah, you don't benefit from this one, but the value of your suggestion is very, very valuable.
Yeah, because I'm not aware that there are too many of those out there. I actually went and looked after I saw what he was doing. So there's probably an opportunity there for you in your local markets, and you're going to be touching, depending on where you live, you're probably going to be touching on 4, 5, 6 different chamber groups with your efforts. Could be even more than that. And those are all just future conversations leading to future opportunities. So make the best.
Fantastic. Bob, thank you so much for your sharing today. You've got some great ideas, and it seems like you're innovating over and beyond what you've already done in the past with Chambers of Commerce, using that experience actually to build a product around it in your particular case, which we're going to learn about here very shortly. I'm going to ask Judith a question here before we get off. Judith, are you listening? You want to unmute and just talk? I need to ask you a question. All right.
Yes, my dear. What would you like?
Bob, of course, handles the social media for his chamber.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we haven't touched on that yet. And I'm just wondering, because that is one of the areas that you excel in, I'm wondering if you might want to put together a program talking about how to use social media for a Chamber of Commerce.
You're asking Bob.
I'm asking you. And I think Bob could probably share it with you. You might be put on a double hit here.
I was going to ask Bob a question, actually.
Go ahead.
And this may seem like a dumb question, but there aren't any. What is the status of women in the chambers? Are they welcome? The other speaker was a female, so I'm just wondering what I've done many things in my life, but I've not been involved in chambers before.
You're right, Judith. There's no dumb questions, and this is a good one. If I put in my mind the 4 biggest chambers closest to me that I'm either engaged with now or looking to engage with fairly intensively in short order here, women are prominent in 3 out of the 4.
Oh, I'm surprised.
In fact, in my experience, Judith, although I started out with a man that was decided to basically retire because he'd been there for several years, and the lady and a woman took over as director of the Chamber of Commerce, and I would guess probably more than half of the people that were chairman of the committees were women. So women are strong in the Chamber of Commerce, very, very strong.
Well, that's good to know, because I just wasn't sure,
In my immediate chamber, there's only one male. The entire rest of the leadership is female currently.
You're there with your harem, are you?
Well, there's pluses and minuses. With all males, you get the alpha male problem. And then with, I'm not going to go there. It's a quicksand mess.
One other thing I began, as Devin coaxed us to do, to look at the chambers around and what was available, and to look at their programs and things. So I did, I'm in Puerto Vallarta now, but I come from Toronto, and there are 20 chapters in the area in Toronto. However, from looking at them, there may only be one or two that actually have English as their language. So, and the one that does speak English, or where English is spoken, I should say, is the government sector. And I'm not involved in government anymore. I don't know how that would fare. I don't know if I'd even be allowed to attend. But there's the Swedish and the Chinese and the Japanese and the Korean and the whatever.
Can you list a Spanish-speaking VA?
No.
No.
Wait, you know this thing called Babel there, Judith, okay?
Yeah. No, well, Devin's going to teach me all he knows, so we're good.
Oh,
There you
okay,
go.
I got you. All right. All right. Now, does anyone have any questions for Bob? I mean, he's done such a great job here today. Scott, you got any questions for him?
Yeah, well, I'm back, and I just wanted you to know that as soon as you asked me a question and I was trying to unmute myself, I got a phone call, and it wouldn't give me access to be able to unmute when the phone was ringing. So, and I just wanted to reiterate that I'm looking forward to sharing what we have, and I want to also thank Bob very much. I didn't have any questions per se, but I really enjoyed what he had to say. And the chamber that I am personally working with right now, the closest, happens to have a female president, and I was actually able to get her on video giving a testimonial about the work that we're doing with them. And that's also something that I feel like is a very strong foot forward when she's introducing me to the other members in her chamber. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there. And but I'm really enjoying being a part of this group, and I really believe that we are on to something here, because I don't believe that there's a better way for all of us to be able to build our businesses than through working through the chambers. I was so excited when I saw Christopher's group. I called him the first day and harassed him for about a week, trying to talk to him about what all was, he had in store for what's going on here. And just really happy to be here with all of y'all.
Thank you, Scott. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that.
Plus the fact that he only lives about an hour and a half away from me.
I expect him to show up at my door anytime.
With bringing some Carolina barbecue for you, so you can see
Yeah,
real barbecues.
you know the story on that one. We talked about that for sure. Rick,
Yep.
Do you have any questions for Bob while we're on here? About to wrap up.
I'm good, and thank you for an enlightening session. Just to get the players aligned, I actually do work hand in hand with Scott.
Of course.
So if you see me from time to time, throwing some of my good wisdom into the group, that's the relationship we got going on there. But Bob, definitely a great job. Really, really appreciate it. A lot of great insight. We're very.
Thank you, Bob.
Rick and Scott are a couple, so you know how that goes, right? Unfortunately, they don't live close enough, so they have a long distance relationship.
Yeah, you can absolutely tell the distinct difference in the accent. You think?
All right, folks. Thank you so much for today. This recording will be up. Hopefully, some of the other members that weren't able to join us today will benefit from it. because I think it's one of our best sessions so far, even though we've only had 2. But I think this is the kind of sessions I think we're going to grow into as we progress with this this group. Many of the folks, I know 3 o'clock on a Wednesday is not necessarily the greatest time, but I don't. If anybody's got any suggestions, put it in the group. I may even just ask the question: is there a better time to meet? Because that would be fine with me. I don't really have any. I just set this up to get it started. So we'll talk about that in the group. Thanks everyone for coming by and signing in. And I will see you all later, baby.
All right.
See
Take
ya.
care now.
Bye bye.
I guess.
Everybody.